I've been up every day for the last 2 weeks before the sun came up to listen for turkeys. In that time, I've heard some responses. I've heard my neighbor screaming something unintelligible at, I guess, his wife, kids, I don't know. Heard a lot of that. I've heard dogs, random. I've heard screaming tires from a drag race, this illegal street racing. But what I hadn't heard is turkey birds responding. But that's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is decoys. All right, some states, they're talking about banning the use of decoys because I guess we're getting too many birds killed, they're saying, off of decoys. All right, but truthfully, are decoys really that effective that you got to think about banning their use? Let's look at it. Poll any 10 hunters on decoy use, and you know what? You'll probably get 10 different responses. At best, 5 and 5. Alright, pros of decoy use. Pro 1. If you're hunting an open area like this, there's no doubt decoys help. Alright, when he's gobbling on the other side of this field and he pops his head out and looks, he's knowing he's going to see a hen. When he doesn't see a hen, he may just turn and never come out of the wood line. Pro 2. Since using this, which I've got him butchered now to look like a Jake, but it was effective. But since using this strutter decoy, I've seen responses out of mature birds that I never saw before. Coming in to fight the decoy in full strut the whole way in. I never saw that before. I've seen it before, but I never saw it where they actually got in a fight with the decoy. Alright, that's a big pro. He comes out, he's aggressive, he wants to whip the other male's tail. That's killed a lot of birds. So that's pro 2. Pro 3. It gives old Tommy something to look at on the way in. And here's the pro 3 part. If there's another hen on the other side of this field and she sees Miss Hen here, turkeys are social. Many days I've seen my poor sad decoy. It's not a hazelnut creek that I've paid thousands for. It's certainly not robotic. But I've seen that sad decoy pull a hen from 400, 500 yards away just because she wanted some companionship and saw another hen there. Alright, is that a big pro? Yeah, it is, because there might be an old Big Tom following that hen. Pro 4. I can set this hen at about 25 yards from where I'm sitting, and I pretty well know my yardage. Alright, I step it off back to where I'm sitting. I know if it's well past the decoys, I'm not shooting. If it's a little past the decoys, I can't. Alright, so a known yardage, that helps when you're in a wide open space like this. I've seen people get worked up with birds, take a shot at 70 yards when they really thought it was about 40. So having a decoy out that gives you a known reference point in yardage, that's a pro. And pro 5 of why decoys matter, all right, it gives the bird something to focus on besides you. If he walks out and sees even this hastily thrown setup, all right, he gets focused on the decoys, and that covers a lot of movement and takes it away from him staring at me picking out a camo blob on the side of a tree. So pro 5, does that kill more turkeys? Absolutely. Something to look at besides the hunter. He doesn't pick you out as much on the side of a tree. There's 5 reasons that decoys help in killing turkeys. But are there any cons to it, or is it all good all the time? All right, let's look at that too. Con 1, which is a big negative. Somebody has to carry these. They're big, they're loud. Every limb that hits the side of this strutter makes a loud plastic, hope you can hear that, scraping sound. And when it's a sweet gum limb or something that rubs across it, it echoes through the woods. That's a definite con. Alright. Con 2. If it is a not so aggressive bird, there's a chance that even putting this jake out here runs him off. He comes in, he sees this strutting jake, he's a lover, not a fighter. He looks at the bird, hightails it the other way. I've seen it happen. And we've all seen a band of jakes whip a gobbler's tail and run him out. If you got a bunch of jakes, they'll put a longbeard in the road. So there's also that risk with putting this out. All right, now, are mine the most realistic looking? No. That's a con. It's a con that a bird comes out, he's in close quarters, he looks at my cheap, well, not too cheap, but it's not Hazelnut Creek. He looks at my cheap decoy and decides he doesn't like whatever this stiff, skinny looking poor turkey is, and he bugs out before getting in shooting range. Is that a con? Yes, a big one, just like scaring a gobbler off that would have otherwise come in. That's a big one. Now, this isn't every decoy, but it's mine. This little stake attachment is incredibly annoying. How many times has this dropped off when I was 2 miles that way or 2 miles that way, and I get to the field and realize I don't have this end piece? When that happens, your only choice is to either not use the decoy or backtrack exactly along your trail until you can find this piece. Why it doesn't just stay on there, I have no idea, because it's obnoxious to put and store anyway, with or without it. It's not like you save a bunch of room by taking off this little decoy stick. So that's a definite con. All right, bird just sounded off in this thick stuff right here. He's got room enough to walk. You gonna stick a decoy up in that? I'm not. I'm not, because when you're looking in this type of vegetation, that's so thick, he doesn't expect to be able to see a hen from a mile off. And the only way you could deploy a decoy here is you put it so close to you that by the time he pops out, he sees you and the decoy. So that's a con. You can't really use a decoy effectively in thick terrain and vegetation like this. All right, last con, and then I'm through bad-mouthing decoys. Somebody has to carry them, and you would think, oh, they're light, they're not. No, if you've walked 4 or 5 miles, especially if you've gotten a little age on you, not calling any names, but it starts to get really heavy, heavy. You got that, you got a camera, you got a gun, that's a whole lot of equipment, and that's a con. What about that thing? That's a blind. I deer hunt out of it, and sometimes I turkey hunt out of it. But I really just don't feel like it's entirely fair to turkey hunt out of it. Why? I've had turkeys during winter flock fly down from roost and actually brush up against that blind. That blind. All right, wings against that. It's almost like a turkey doesn't know a blind's there. A whitetail, they know. They hate that black hole effect. But a turkey, it's almost like the blind doesn't exist. If you're covered by the blind, it's kind of like it's not there, you're not there. I think that makes it a lot easier than a decoy, but that's just me. All right, hope I gave you a little food for thought on pros and cons of decoy use. Now, what I will say is this. Thank God we live in the United States of America, where we can argue about things like using decoys, seasons, turkey limits. We can argue about all those things and then come together as a single group and single family in the end. Thank God we're not sitting over in Ukraine or with something like that going on. Now, That said, let's pray for the people of Ukraine. Let's pray for our troops that we don't get involved in a World War III or whatever, because nobody knows where this could lead. I got family that's in the military. I got friends that are in the military. And the whole thing scares me. So, not going to end on that note. Enjoy Creator's creation. Enjoy getting out in it. If you want to win a hat, be the 500 subscriber. So if you watch, you enjoy the content, subscribe, leave me a note saying subscribed, number 500, free hat. We'll figure out a way to get it to you through the comments, but make sure you leave that. Check us out on Farm Focused. Like, subscribe. See you next time on the Whitetail Cartel.